Good morning, everybody. This is Martin John, and we're here to talk about the Tao of the Day. The Tao Te Ching, which is at the core of what the Tao of the Day is all about, is an ancient text written about 600 BCE. This text is filled with all sorts of enigmatic wisdom and ways for us to reimagine how we're experiencing our lives or certain situations. What I do is I ask you guys to come on up and we'll chat a little bit. We'll get to know each other just a little bit, and then I'll ask you to pick a number between 1 and 81. This is just like an oracle reading. So if you were to pick a card and it would be like, oh, I got the Raven card or whatever. Let's see what that means. And you're picking a number. You're kind of being quiet and looking at a number is going to guide you to learn a different way of looking at the situation that you're currently facing, whatever that happens to be. Whether it's your relationship with anything from food to people, even the current political climate, anything that's going on in your life. So what we do is we start to look at things from a different perspective. And we look at it from a perspective of living a more reasonable life. What I mean by living a reasonable life, especially as it relates to the Tao, is living in a way where we don't ask others or other things to change for us. We accept them as they are. Hello, Muhammad. How are you?
I'm doing okay. How are you doing? Good morning.
I'm doing very well, man. I'm doing very well. You're doing okay. What's on?
Just dealing with, earlier today kind of just brought me down. So I tried going to sleep and, I couldn't sleep. So just kind of in the garage working on something.
Oh, what are you
keep
working on?
myself busy. Just fixing up some things that kind of just procrastinating, you know.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Procrastination's a tough thing. So what was keeping you up?
It's kind of a touchy and hard subject, but I guess the only way I could talk to is, kind of a male figure, because, it's kind of like, that person that you love, that, you're in a relationship, but you're kind of having kind of a challenging, difficult time, kind of more of like things that I can't prevent, that like my health is causing the issue. And, it's, I don't want to say that it should be everything in the relationship, but this person makes it to be,
They make it to be everything in the relationship.
Pretty much, like without, having the intimacy, it's pretty much like there's no relationship.
Right. Well, that's a classic sort of transactional relationship outline. And transactional relationships are the most unhealthy relationships we can imagine, where it's like but that is where we are today, in so many aspects. The idea of transactional things really just kind of get in the way of our being able to be who we are and be happy with who we are. So I want to ask you to pick a number between 1 and 81.
1 and 81?
Yeah.
77.
77. I think that's the bending of a bow. Yeah, the bending of a bow. So have you heard this show before?
I listened to you, I think yesterday morning a little bit when I was waking up.
Okay.
I've only downloaded this app for like 4 days.
Yeah. So what we do here is we look at the Tao Te Ching. Are you familiar with the Tao Te Ching?
No, sir, but I am familiar with the law of attraction and spiritual realms.
Okay. Well, the law of attraction is a nice intro to some of the things that the Tao will talk about. But we're gonna go ahead and read number 77. It's entitled "The Bending of a Bow." Now, what this verse really kind of points to is patience. You know, whether that's patience for you or patience for what have you, or even in the relationship and in your partner, right? Like patience in allowing them to go through what they need to go through at the time so that they can continue to grow. But let's go ahead and read it and see what pops out in your mind. And I'm going to ask you when I'm done reading it to just let me know what stood out to you, what line or what word, because it's hard to kind of grasp the full text the first time you're hearing it. You know what I mean? So I'm going to go ahead and read it, and you let me know what you hear.
Okay.
Tao acts on the world as the bending of a bow. The top is forced down when the bottom is moved up. It is impossible for one to act without the other responding. Unlike man, Tao is patient and neutral, quietly adjusting excess and deficiencies, taking from what is too much and giving to what isn't enough. Ordinary men go against Tao, taking resources from areas that are deficient and giving resources to areas that compulsively consume. The master knows all things are being adjusted. Although she cannot always see it in action, she has faith it is working through her. In this way, she allows her actions to unfold, neither dwelling on them nor taking credit. Aligned with Tao, they complement all things. So, what did you hear there?
I heard a lot.
Mm-hmm.
About pretty much being patient and taking credit.
What about taking credit?
Like, I guess with patience, I will. With patience, she will take credit for the responsibility in the relationship.
Okay. So
I heard mopping upside down too. So
what's that?
You said mopping upside down too.
Mopping upside down?
I swear I thought you said a mop upside down.
Oh no, I don't think I did. I'm gonna go ahead and read this again, and then maybe you can spot where that is, and then we can talk about that section. That's funny. A mop upside down. It'd be like mopping the ceiling. I'm just trying to see if there's an image there that I'm coming up with, but I'm not sure. So
maybe
go on.
Oh, I say maybe use what position I am as a different focus in my life.
Yeah, like there is something to that, right? So that's like energetic, like you hear something, because what I say and what you hear really have nothing to do with one another, right? You're going to hear something from your subjective experience. And so when you talk about taking credit, because in this verse it's saying neither taking credit, like so neither dwelling on or taking credit. So it's saying it's not going to take credit. But I know that in a relationship where we're trying to convince our partner that it's more than a transaction, it's like we have to, but everything to them is transaction. We want to take credit so that we can utilize that which we do as part of the transaction because we are so, pardon the word, desperate for their love. We want to be loved by this person because we love them, but they want us to be in transaction with them. They want us to give them something in order for that love to be offered to us. And the thing with this verse, as I hear this, is, like what we're talking about is understanding that things are being adjusted. How, we might not know. We might not be able to see how they're being adjusted in front of us, right? So Tao acts on the world as the bending of the bow. The top is forced down, the bottom is moved. It is impossible for one to act without the other responding. Now this could be seen as you and your partner. One acts, the other responds.
Yep.
Unlike man, Tao is patient, neutral, quietly adjusting excess and deficiencies. Now this is interesting as we start talking about excess and deficiencies, because when we look at intimacy problems, we can often use the term deficiency. There's something deficient. But it is quietly adjusting excess and deficiency. Was there a time in your experience, in your life, in which that which is currently deficient was in excess? Is there something with your partner who's experienced deficiency now in intimacy or other things of that nature, and it was in excess? Is her attention to that in excess? Or his attention to that in excess? Ordinary men go against Tao, taking resources from areas that are deficient and giving resources to areas that compulsively consume. This is how ordinary men deal with things. Go on.
I don't mind. Like, as a man, we want, to make our woman happy, as well as women want to make the men happy too. It goes both ways. But when someone, has issues, it comes to a point like, like I just had a little low blow last night, and I was kind of like, I didn't want to argue about it, so I just got off the phone. But yeah, it kind of just, it kind of hits you a little bit, because you're like, for a fact that, I was healthy and I didn't have a disability, it would be a different situation.
Yeah. And I understand that that's a difficult thing to face, and that's going to keep you from sleeping. But that keeping you from sleeping is continuing to give energy, right? Because your mind is giving energy to that which is compulsively consuming.
Well, yeah, so I had to do something positive, because I can tell you right now, brother, my head was literally thinking of grabbing a liquor bottle and just drinking shots, but I did not. So kudos to me.
And that would just make it worse, right? Like your mind is already and this is what it says, ordinary men go against the Tao, taking resources from areas that are deficient. So my guess is you're not sleeping much.
Oh, just not today.
Right.
But I get to see the sunrise, so that's I'm up before the sun every day. And there is something about this energy at this time of day that's really invigorating. And really it has really aligned with me being able to be my best, most healthy self. And this concept of giving resources that compulsively consume. When a topic consumes all of your thoughts, it demands more energy to consume even more of your thoughts. And then you go into a cycle, and you go into a spiral, just thinking about the same thing over and over in different ways. This is why mindfulness, meditation, patience, to train our brain to not give resources to areas that compulsively consume.
when your mind finds a problem, it will compulsively consume that problem. Now, you spoke earlier of law of attraction. When your mind is on the problem, even if you're like distracting yourself with doing stuff in the garage, distracting yourself with projects, making art, fixing a car, mopping a ceiling. I don't know what the hell it is, right? But whatever it is, taking your mind out of that which compulsively consumes and give it to resources that are currently deficient. Maybe your attention in your garage and in your home and in your life and on yourself and on your health and on your mind and on your food and on your job or whatever. Those things will have to, we want to be able to invest in things outside of the cyclical cyclone of thoughts that are compulsively consuming our lives slowly. It's like, oh, here's this deficiency, and I'm going to focus on this deficiency rather than focusing on that in my life which I've been, putting off. It's like we have responsibilities as human beings to do everything we can to make sure that our lives are filled with balance. And any sort of illness in our bodies is a sign of imbalance.
Yes, sir. So
I want you to come back up. You just got dropped off. I do have someone in the queue, but I want you to come back up, and then we'll finish up, and then I'll move on. I'll give you a couple seconds here. Okay. And Christy, I'm going to be with you very shortly. Muhammad and I are just going to wrap up.
Oh, I'm back on.
Okay, good. Okay. Did you want to, yeah.
So I just, doing something positive, keeping myself motivated for the time being instead of just, drinking alcohol just to drown my sorrows, which...
Yeah, no, that's not going to do you any good. You got plenty to do, because once you drown your sorrows, what you're going to do is you're just going to focus on that which is compulsively consuming anyway. And you're going to make your ability to be intimate with anybody and yourself even, to be close with yourself. And that doesn't mean physically, but to be able to be intimate. Even right now, because you and I are speaking about this is intimacy. There is a connection and there is caring, and I love you and I hope that you're well, and I want you to be able to, give resources in your life to areas that you have been neglecting so that you have the ability to find those connections within yourself and within others, and to feel and be loved and to make the choices in your life that are good for you.
Thank you. And I do. It's just, I can deal with negativity, but it's usually with the people you care for the most that's where it kind of stings a bit,
It is. Yeah, it's not easy. And again, we have to look at is this transactional? Do I want this to be transactional? And when you love somebody, that sometimes means you don't make the best choices for yourself. You have to realize that the relationship has to come after you. Because if you're not healthy, then the relationship is impossible to be healthy.
I will never be I have a disability, so I will never be 100% normal.
Well, normal is a myth. You are always 100%. And I always tell people, don't let your definition of perfection rob you of yours.
When you start getting older, being diabetic, there are things you have to watch out for more.
Don't let your definition of perfection rob you of yours.
Yes, sir.
That's all. You're perfect. And you might have to be like, I have MS. I have a very specific diet because I don't take meds for my MS. And that's perfect for me.
Oh,
It's what we're here to do. Like, you have a very specific life that you need to be living right now. And it is broad. Focusing singularly is going to collapse that into something small, and you are not.
I appreciate the positivity. That's why I wanted to jump on here and just talk. I thought it's just better to, talk to someone and vent it out. And
Yeah. And and diabetes is very hard. And many people deal with it. It's painful. It's all sorts of things that I don't know about. And
yeah,
and I am grateful because everything has to be experienced, right, by consciousness. So consciousness is out there experiencing things through us, and we're being guided to have these experiences. And so I'm grateful to you for going through this experience, and I am going to offer you as much strength as I can so that you could face this experience with grace as well as strength so that you can get beyond it, so that you don't have to be the victim of it.
it's also been another thing in my head for a bit. It's like, why am I the victim of this? But
Well, and that's the thing. Like, why are you choosing to be a victim? Right? Like, this is an opportunity for you to see life from a different perspective. And yet, you want to see it from the perspective of what you used to believe was normal. And then you're saying, I'm not going to be normal. But it's like, you are normal. There's no way you can't be normal. The thing is you have a life that is spelled out a little differently than other people. And my life is spelled out differently than other people. It's simply just, this is the life. Life, the Tao says in one of the verses, life is a gift received from Tao. And everything is sustained in support of that gift. I am being sustained in the support of the gift of your life. Like, your life is this gift. Can you see it that way?
yes,
rather
sir.
than a curse to be drug out until you pass. This is a gift. How can you, sometimes you get gifts you don't want. Your diabetes is maybe one of those things. I get it. It's just like, damn it, I wanted a remote control car, not a trapper keeper. Like, I didn't want a daily planner, but that's what you got. So now you got to deal with that. And it's just like, oh, well, let's see how can I strengthen my life with this gift, with the gift that I've been given, rather than looking outside of myself and all of the gifts everybody else got. This is the gift that I have. And then being able to address it from that perspective. When we talk about this, like, ordinary men go against it out, taking resources that are deficient and giving resources that compulsively consume. One of the resources that I see that compulsively consume is desire for what other people have. And in your terminology, that would have been normal, right? You're normal. I'm not. It's like, well, that's an area that is compulsively consuming, and we all give it. We all look at, they're normal, I'm not. Like, I have MS, you have diabetes, we're not normal. Boo-hoo. No, everyone's got their shit. We're all right. Like, let's figure this out from this perspective, from my singular perspective.
Yeah, I mean, we just have a little curveballs.
If even like who doesn't? Everybody's got it. You know, this is why I say, don't let your definition of perfection rob you of yours. Because your definition of perfection is some bullshit. Your definition of normal is some bullshit. Like, what's normal? What's perfect? What is what's happening right now. And this is perfect. This is normal. This is normal for you, Muhammad. The idea that things are supposed, quote unquote, to be certain ways is something that we learn to think about. That's not something that really is. Is it supposed to rain? Well, if it does, it is. Shut up and move on. Am I supposed to have... What if you were to ask God, like, am I supposed to have diabetes? And he said, yeah. Now deal with it. Would you be like, well, I'm not normal then? No, God made you this way, right? Well, you're made this way. You're good.
I got used to be diabetic for a while. And then the older you get is where more challenging things come in your life.
Well, deal with your shit now while you're young.
Yeah.
Don't fucking sit on your laurels, man. Don't wait for it to get worse. And then while you're here doing everything you can, make sure you accept the fact that if it gets worse, you're going to receive that as part of the gift of your life. Don't resist. God's not asking you to resist. You're looking to surrender.
I just didn't know it was going to play a part in my relationship so soon. That's what I just didn't.
You're gonna like maybe that's just so you take action quicker. Because that's something you love, right? It's like, oh well, I love this. Now I have to step it up. Now if I ask, are there areas you can step it up? I'm sure you would say yes. Oh, you can step up your you know, like your lifestyle. You can step up the things that you're doing. I'm sure you would say yes.
Yes,
you know,
sir.
because I know every day of my life there are places that I look and I say, I don't like that I'm doing this, but I'm doing it anyway. And it's like, you know what? I can step it up here. But sometimes you need a little motivation. Sometimes you need something to tell you, you know, make the effort. And it's worth making the effort maybe for the relationship. And that relationship may still end, but you know you'd be a better person if you did certain things. And that could be motivation enough to start to open yourself up to new possibilities.
Yes, sir.
Because you know, like when I got 23 years clean and sober, and a big aspect when I talk to people about sobriety and stuff is like, well, what's motivating you to stay sober? And like my kid, and I'm like, what if your kid dies? You're just going to go and drink again? It's like you can't put it on someone else. Your lifestyle and that which you do to keep yourself healthy has to be coming from you. And if it is the relationship, then when the relationship's over, you become weak again, or whatever that is, whatever the word is that you would use for that. You know, it's like, no, you do this for you because you're worth it. The relationship might be the thing that starts you on this journey, but you're the one that's worth it, Muhammad.
Yes, sir. I understand. It's just sometimes it does play with your mind a little bit, you know.
Yeah, you know, there's a Tao also that says, "Stop thinking; it hasn't done you any good."
Yeah,
you know, and that's the thing. When it plays with your mind, you're thinking and you're processing it. But when you look into your body, when you look at that solar plexus, that area in your body just under your rib cage, there's fear and there's anger and there's frustration and there's doubt that you can even do it. And when you can sit and you can feel that and you can just love that little section of your body, that's your solar plexus that's right underneath your rib cage. A lot of times I tell people to put their hand there and breathe into their hand, because it's like there's so much pain right there. And that comes from childhood, and it comes from generational and trauma and racial trauma and historic trauma and cultural trauma and all of this stuff. And it's like that drives us to pacify with alcohol, pacify with food, pacify with all sorts of stuff. And as we pacify, we separate ourselves from our own alignment. Like, yes, you have diabetes, and I get it, but it's yours. Like, this is your task. It's not your diabetes. Diabetes is a thing of itself, but it's your task to love this somehow, to love it and care for it. Care for this body, care for this experience, care for this subjective experience of Muhammad. And in that there is love, and there is fear of being rejected and fear of being put out because we can't be what other people want us to be. And my guess is you probably experienced this in your life in other places as well. Because things like this don't just show up once.
No, sir. But it recently started happening to where, I was having complications. So.
Yeah. Well, no, and I don't even mean like we can stop looking at the specifics, and I would venture to guess that, in your household as a child, you had a certain role to play, and that role was anytime you couldn't play that role, the people around you would threaten your position in the household. I would guess that that's what's happening, that you have had experiences such as that.
I don't recall.
Nope, you just dropped. Yeah. I don't know, but you can come back up if you'd like. The person who was in the queue had stepped away, so if you wanted to come back up, but you might want to remove the specifics of this, because what I'm hearing from you is that your partner is looking at one aspect of your relationship and pressuring you or putting undue pressure on you in some way. And my guess is that you may have experienced something similar to that, whether it was with school or whether it was with your role at home, whether it was with, like your siblings or your parents or whatever. Like, I would venture to say that something like that may have been experienced. Again, not with the same outcomes, but your feeling of being put out, your feeling of being abandoned, your feeling of being...
Oh, now I understand more. Abandoned, yeah.
Yeah,
but I
right.
always try
so,
to, I
you
always
have
try
to be
to find
something
a way.
specific.
I always had to try to find a way. And that was before, diabetes and all that, but
yeah, diabetes is a result of that.
It's just a new chapter kind of thing, like something, a new phase I'm going through, and it just becomes more of like where it's kind of embarrassing to talk to with people too, like people around you.
So I would explore that. I would explore this. It's embarrassing to talk to people about this. And I would ask yourself, are there things in your life when you were a child, when you were younger, and any aspect and any time in your life, were there other things that you were embarrassed to talk about? Were you embarrassed to talk to your friends about things that were happening in your house when you were a kid?
Yes, it was.
Okay, so here we go. This isn't new for you. It's simply new characters and new situations. But those characters and situations are all manifestation. Those are all simply physical. Tao, God, whatever, however we want to kind of look at these things. Those are deeper. That connection that you have with everybody, the experience that you're living right now in your life is all about looking at the big picture, looking at, okay, why am I embarrassed to talk about this? Why am I, like, what is this about me that I'm continuing to have experiences where I find myself in situations in which I can't talk about them. And I'm isolated and abandoned. And I'm even abandoning myself by not talking about the things I want to talk about.
Because I know somebody who's going through the same thing, but he chooses on the weekend to drink liquor.
Yeah. So his situation's only going to get worse.
Well, I mean, thank God at least it's on the weekend. But
but the escaping. Well, yes, thank God it's on the weekend. But during the week, is that person facing, or is the escape going to ultimately grow? Because what's happening, if we look at number 77, he's taking areas that are deficient and giving resources to areas that compulsively consume. And trust me, escape compulsively consumes. That's why addiction exists. And just because he's drinking on the weekend doesn't mean he's not looking at social media and avoiding his situation during the week.
No,
he's just not using alcohol. What's that?
He is not a diabetic, but
either way.
He's the same age, pretty much. So, me and him kind of have that same similarity where it's kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of weird to approach, like, I mean, even talking about it with him is kind of still weird, but I guess that's the only person I can really kind of talk to.
Yeah. It's hard, man. Life is, but understand, this is still a gift. No matter what it is you're facing, this is still a gift. And you're being supported.
Thank you.
I really appreciate you coming up. I'm going to go ahead and send, at some point, I'm going to go ahead and send number 77 to you via the text, in this app. So you'll have it and you can kind of look at it and think about it. I really hope that you can, see this from a different perspective, and it becomes easier for you to approach the lifestyle changes that need to that you want to take in. Like we were talking earlier, there are things that you can step it up with now, but the energy to do that isn't always there. So there's no shame in not doing it, and there's no judgment. But when you're ready, I always tell people, look, you're going to do it until you don't. Right? Like whether it's alcohol or cocaine or crack or whatever, you're going to do it until you don't. If it's food, you're going to do it until you don't. You're going to have this relationship until it changes. This relationship with food, this relationship with your partner, this relationship with yourself. It will change. Change is the only constant. So we embrace that. We embrace and we look forward to the growth that change will yield. Because we are actively looking to grow.
So I guess all I have is change right now. Because that's the new chapter.
That's the new chapter. And that's like the change is always happening. By the time you realize you're in a new chapter, that chapter is already over. You know what I mean? And you're already on to another one. But it's like you have to catch up. Because our perception is always behind the reality of the energy that we are producing. This is your law of attraction kind of stuff. By the time you're attracting physically that which you're exuding from your body, from your energy, you're already moving on to attract something different.
Yes, sir.
But you are so accustomed to attracting this that it's finally coming. And illness is something that we attract. Energetically. We energetically align with it. You know what I mean?
I try not to, but...
Yeah, it happens behind your back, man. It's just like as soon as you say, I want to be healthy, you're attracting illness. Because healthy, the other side of the coin of healthy is what?
Unhealthy.
It's illness. There is nothing on the other side of the healthy coin but illness. And so when you attract one, you attract the other. The Tao says, if one wants everything, you need to know what everything includes. And so, like, if you want health, you are going to attract illness. It's part of the game. It's part of understanding this physical world. If you want to understand what tall is, you are going to have to feel short for some time. If you want to understand what fit is, you're going to have to be unhealthy. If you want to understand what healthy is, you're going to have to be unhealthy. Because you can't understand one without understanding its opposite, without understanding its extreme. And so, when we look out at the world and we say, why does this always keep happening to me? The universe answers and shows me why it keeps happening to me. And it just says, this is why it keeps happening to you. And if you don't want to pay attention to how you're asking the question, you're going to continue getting the answer you're getting.
That's happened to me before.
Yeah.
But I also woke up with sometimes I'd have a positive mindset and say that I'm going to accomplish this, and then it happens.
Yeah. Life is a gift. Now, what are you going to do with it?
Make the most of it.
Good on you. And you know what? These are all lessons. They're not. It's not a sentence. It's not like you're imprisoned by this. You can change your life from moment to moment every day. There is no destination to that. I know that we like to think, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do this, and I'm going to get here, and I'm going to have this. But really, and we've all heard this before, it's just a journey. It's just a journey. And as we go through that journey, we experience things one moment at a time, one step at a time. And that's what we're doing. There's no destination. We'll go into it and then grow out of it. And it will continue. Thank you for joining me, man. I appreciate this.
Thank you for listening.
Yeah, and I wish you luck. And I'm here, doing this at 6 a.m. Central Time every day. So if you need another number at some point, you come up and let me know.
I will. Thank you.
Absolutely. Have a good one, man.
You too.
All right. I'm going to bring up yours truly.
Hello.
Hey, Julie. How are you, dear?
I'm all right. How are you, Martin, John?
I am well. You seem calm this afternoon.
Oh, I'm having a lovely calm time.
Nice. You're still in Cornwall?
No, I've been down to Cornwall, across to Wales, over to Glastonbury, where I called you from the other day.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You're in Glastonbury.
Now I'm down in Sussex.
Oh, man, you guys are getting around.
I love getting around. Why not?
Do you have a little pet gig?
I do. I have a pet gig this weekend.
Nice. Where and is that in
my
Sussex?
OGs, yeah. Luna and Boona.
Oh, nice.
My OGs, they are. They're the ones who inspired me. So I've got them for the weekend, and then later on in the month I have a little dog that was a neighbour. So I'm going to go down and do 3 days there. And then I start a long gig then for 7 weeks in Hampshire.
In Hampshire? Is that a nice place to spend 7 weeks?
Oh, it's very, very nice, Martin, John. It's
yes, posh?
Yeah.
That's good. Life is good. Life is so good.
I love the experience of it. But like you've just said, when you go into one thing, you understand there is another.
Yes.
There's the other side of the coin all of the time. And what I'm trying to do now is I'm trying to spin my coin, Martin John.
Yeah.
Spin my coin so I can have both at the same time.
Yeah.
So I own nothing, but I experience great things.
Years ago, in the pursuit of abundance and all that bullshit that we fall into.
Yeah. Nah, not for me.
Yeah, right. And it's not for me either, and I knew that, but it was like, but how am I going to do this otherwise? And then I realized, there is no how. That's not my job. My job is to just do it.
Mm-hmm.
But either way, in that, like I heard a story about, guru or a guy that was, and he had said, all of the money in the world is mine.
Yes.
Like I don't like, and that's real.
Yes.
Like, and I understood that at a deep sense. Like it's all mine.
Yes.
But just like all of the disease is mine as well.
Yes.
All of the illness is mine. All of the poor is mine. All of the destitute is mine. All of the money is mine. And it's like, and there's this ability to just let go when you recognize that both sides are here right now. Like I have access to everything in the universe.
When you spin a coin, when you realize the coin has two sides, and you spin the coin, it becomes a new 3D, three-dimensional shape.
Right.
That's what I like to see experience. So yes, you have both sides, and you can flip them from left to right, or you can stay on the rim, on the edge of it all, or you can spin it. And when you spin it, one can completely merge into another to create your experience then as a sphere, as a new shape, a new dimension.
Right.
Like that.
Just opens you up to new experiences. And then you get to experience the front, the back, the side, and you get to experience it all as one form. Mm-hmm. And it's not separate. It's all connected. It's all like you can't have the front without the back.
Yep.
And you could focus on one if you'd like. You can focus on, I want all the money in the world. But you are attracting this dark side. Mm-hmm. The side that you're not looking at. And your mind, like you
realize, if you're wanting all the money in the world, you're expressing that you lack it.
Right. If you want it, like if you want to own it, if you want to possess it, then all you're going to see is other people possessing it. Because that's what you're focused on. Yeah.
And to go along with that, I had a little thought pop in my mind then. It's kind of zipped off. So you get to see it, you get to blend it, you get to experience it, but you also understand then when you're spinning that coin or experience and having both sides, you get to understand that it's forever in change, and so are you.
Yeah.
It's not just things change in the world, because they do, experiences change, but you also change as well. That's why memories are called back in fragments, and then you create around the experience that you're having or the way that you're feeling at that time, then hues the memory. It hues the memory, and it can come back and, hue what you're feeling now as well. But they're not memories. They are fragments that you're piecing together to make sense of, So, yeah, it's interesting stuff. But everything is in change is pretty much what I wanted to say.
Yeah.
I have a number, Martin John.
I want it.
I want that number. So it's number 8. Number 8 has been really quite prominent in my world at the moment. I was talking to someone about numbers yesterday. It was Michael J. And he was talking about significance of numbers. And I was saying about synesthesia. Synesthesia is when you can look at a number or a shape and see colour or feeling or an emotion to it. It's the collection and making sense of things with other senses that you have. It's interesting stuff, synesthesia.
Yeah.
So, number 8, please, Martin John.
Number 8's be like water. Mm-hmm. Water is humble, always traveling to the lowest place, nourishing without taxing everything along the way. In so doing, it is like Tao. The master aims to resemble water. In thinking, she is simple. In conflict, she is yielding. In government, she doesn't need to control. In work, she does the obvious thing. In family life, she is continually present. When one can be content with being and not require comparison or praise, it is said they invest in their life by making of it a donation.
That's lovely.
There's so much here. I really love this, when we talk about water and break it apart into it's like, oh yeah, it goes to the lowest place and it goes to the sea, but this idea that it nourishes without taxing everything along the way. That line always stands out to me. It nourishes without taxing. So many things, like we were talking to Muhammad, his partner, may nourish him in their relationship, but also taxes him by looking at one specific aspect of their relationship that he is currently deficient. And so that is not being like water. Where, and when I look at that line, I always say, what am I taxing in my life? I went to a restaurant the other day and I was taxing to the people around me. Why did I do that? I don't like that I did that. It gets me to recognize how I want to be a little bit better. It gets me to better recognize how I want to be.
It's almost like the word taxing for me, just to put it in a perspective of general speak.
Yeah.
It's expectation, reward, or receiving in exchange.
Right. As we hear earlier, not requiring comparison or praise.
That's right. Yeah. So you're doing a thing just because you're doing a thing, not for any result, any agenda, any expectation of reciprocation. You're just doing it.
Right.
Yeah. And I like that. I think that is just letting it go, letting it have its own form in a way. Mm-hmm. It's like a smile. So if you give someone a smile, you can tax that smile by expecting the smile back or some kind of reaction. That's right. Situation. But maybe that smile will have its own journey on many faces that day. Mm-hmm. But that is the smile's journey.
Right.
You continue with yours. So that's kind of a great way of kind of describing tax and wanting to receive or have acknowledgement for. It's one of those, just do. And that's it. do again. Rest.
Yeah, just do it again.
Yeah.
Like if it's coming from you, just do it.
Yeah. It's flow.
You know, so many of us like start with the tax. What am I going to get in return if I do this?
Yeah.
What am I going to get? You know, like that happens in our, you know, I mean, we're on Noom, so we can talk about weight even. Like, what am I going to do if I do this diet? What am I going to do if I get this surgery? What am I going to do? What is going to happen to me what am I going to get out of this effort? Mm. Before I even think about, is this an effort? Is this something that I've been drawn for? Is this something like, if I want change, is it necessary? And I've told people this before, you know, like if you want to lose weight, like, yeah, you could go ahead and do all the physical things, but maybe it's it's a simple thing of just seeing the world from a different perspective, opening yourself up.
So maybe the weight is only important in your perspective. Maybe you're a mesomorph. Mesomorphs have a different body shape naturally. That's how my friend Tom, because Tom is he's my best friend. He's a wonderful, wonderful guy. And he said to me, I'm putting on weight. And I said, yes, you are, because I'm honest.
Yeah.
He said, and what does that mean? And I said, you're never going to be a stick. You are built as a mesomorph frame. Understand what you have. And then maybe, once you've accepted that, you can move beyond the focus of your weight and live your life. And maybe by living your life and going with the flow and being like the river, you'll lose weight. How are you to know?
Right, you don't know. And that's the big thing where it's like wanting to lose weight is a judgment. It's coming from a judgment. Wanting it, and that's when you start imposing taxes because you're like, I want a result.
You start looking at all the food you're eating, looking at all the exercise you're thinking, and making your life you're taxing yourself.
Right. And that's the tax coming in. And taxing everything along the way.
Mm. So then once you kind of let go of that, then you can start to open your focus and peripherals and widen your observations and things in the world generally and yourself.
And that is just one thing. I mean, we could talk about it as anything we want, money, relationship. We can talk about it as friendships. We can talk about it as all sorts of things. You know, without taxing, living without taxing other things, without having expectations of praise, without having expectation, without comparing yourself to others. And that's the thing. Those things will fall away.
Yeah.
And as those things fall away, you will find what's important to you, because the weight, the disease, the relationship, the judgment, all of that is just a symptom to the problem that exists.
And taxing is almost a way also of saying that you are empty.
That you need to be filled up. Right.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's another reason why, taxing isn't the best idea in the world.
I remember having a conversation with somebody who was talking about being angry, and you're going to drop off and you can come back up if you have the time. So I was talking to someone about this idea of, I suppose it was about taxing in some way, but it was about getting upset. It was like, when we get upset, we look at that as if it is money, as if it is a commodity, as if it is something that we can, if you make me upset, then you've taken X% of my happiness for the day. And now I have to go and get it back from you. So I'm going to be upset with you until you give it back to me. But the thing is once your joy, once your happiness for the day, once your 7% of happiness goes, like, because you have an endless amount of happiness within you. It just happens to be kind of locked behind your ability to surrender to it.
Mm.
But what we do is we go out and someone cuts us off, and then we invest even more energy in trying to get that happiness back, which is not possible because it's not a commodity. It's just something that we have access to.
Yeah. It's a flow. It's a flow. Again.
Right. Happiness is just something, we could have it right now if we let go of the fact that we just got cut off. But we can't let go of what we just got cut off because, I'm not thinking simply, I'm not yielding to conflict. I am trying to control while governing this part of my life. I am not doing the obvious thing in my work, and I am separate from my family life, right? And those are the things the master does. To resemble water is in thinking she is simple. In conflict, she is yielding. In governing, she doesn't need to control. In work, she does the obvious thing. And in family life, she is continually present. How can you be present with your family if you're angry at someone who just cut you off?
Yeah.
How can you be present in this moment with your family if you're mad at them for what they did 10 minutes ago?
Yeah. Try telling a kid off. Try telling a kid off an hour after it's done something that's upset you.
Right.
Kid will not remember what you are telling it off for. It will come as a shock and a surprise because that moment's gone.
Right.
Just let it go.
Mm-hmm.
And be present so that when that thing does occur, be present with it at the time and then explain to another living soul, because that's how I see children. I see children as connecting souls. So there are ways of going around telling another soul that might kind of shorten you a little. That's doesn't feel right. That's maybe not the best way to go around that. Have another think. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So deal with it at the time, because later down the road, when you're still angry, like you said, you are completely detached from the now, the here, the present, the feeling in the air at the time. Right. Connection. Yeah.
And you're not being like water.
No.
You're not nourishing anything. You're taxing everything that you're like, if I'm going to give you this, you're going to give me something back. If I'm going to love you, you're going to, like we were talking with Muhammad, their partner. If I'm going to love you, you're going to have to do these things. And it's like, well, and then all of a sudden it's, oh, well, this is a deal breaker. If you can't do this for me, then I'm not going to give you love. And it's like, well, okay, well then that's fine. Like, I'm not going to, I'm going to go now. In thinking.
In kind of some interactions between souls, why is it we accept the immediate? When we meet someone, we accept them. And in our mind, we've created this persona, we've created this character. Like my creation of Martin John is nowhere near Martin John's knowledge of Martin John.
Right.
But I accept you. And as you reveal more Martin John to me, as we get to know each other, I still accept you this way, and I find you interesting and curious, and so it wouldn't matter what you told me, Martin John, I am still interested. But what would happen to me and Martin John if I came in and said to you, Martin John, you do the Tao today, why don't you try and do it this way? Because that way irritates me. It makes me, it robs me of something. And I want that. Right. Can you do it my way? And then you would say, no.
That's what I would say.
Jog on.
Yeah.
And there in that moment would be that feeling where I'd imposed my wishes on someone who I should have never even thought to do that to tax Martin John that way. And it would affect it. It would change the dynamics of the connection that we have. So stop doing that, people. Stop.
Just stop it.
Stop it. Yeah. Just enjoy what is in the now and accept, just like the first time you met a person. Just
I always like to think about things like this that we're talking about. I like to think of them from the perspective of like, look, Julie became Julie without me.
Yeah.
If I start to influence Julie in some way, that's because Julie is allowing certain influence to come in from me. That's not because I am forcing influence upon Julie.
Yeah.
Like Julie's choosing to be influenced in a specific way. And when I take credit for that, when I say, I influenced Julie, then all of a sudden, my ego gets involved with the outcome. And then I think, okay, well, I'm going to tell Julie how to be because I've influenced her. So then I'm going to come in and say, oh, you got to do it this way because this way's better. And if you don't do it that way, I'm going to be upset because I, in my mind, gave myself more credit for influencing you. I gave myself credit for influencing you rather than giving you credit for being able to open yourself up to new ideas or whatever it was, like that I am associating with that. It's like, yes, I've said something and you told me that I did something that made you think of something. Oh, good. I'm glad you thought about that differently.
Yeah.
I'm glad you listened to me.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Because that's taxing. If I wanted that from you, that would be taxing. And what I would be doing is requiring praise. Which it says when one can be content with being.
You'd be robbing that person of their inspiration, of their autonomy.
And their autonomy, right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's what we do all the time in different sorts of relationships. We just rob people of their autonomy because we want credit for what we've done for them. It's like, I've done this for you. I'm doing this. I'm giving you value because you're serving me or whatever it is, however it works.
Bob, I didn't come into your cafe. Do you know what I mean? That's something you'd ideally say to like a waitress or a waiter. You go sit down at the table and the first thing you think in your mind is if you didn't have customers, you wouldn't have a job.
Yeah.
And that's wrong. That's not a really great way to inspire good service. It's not a great way to inspire connection, conversation, ambience, the wanting to be there for yourself.
Right.
Yeah. It's interesting stuff, Martin John. I like number 8. Number 8 is a good thing to think about. Yeah.
And it's all like it starts and it could, if it was just the title in the first line, be like water, water is humble. That's the title and the first line together. We don't need anything more than that. Be like water, water is humble. Now it goes into everything else, always traveling, like it explains more. It says, okay, well, how is water humble? Always traveling to the lowest place. It nourishes everything without taxing along the way, right? So everything that it comes in contact with, it is nourishing.
Whether it be a beautiful plant or some hogweed or something,
Yeah. And the animals that it finds and the worms and the bugs and everything it comes in contact with, it is nourishing and it isn't asking for anything in return.
It's lovely. It's a lovely, lovely Tao, that is, that number 8. Thank you, Martin John, for having me on, as always. It's an absolute pleasure to come on here. I
love you so much, and I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll be in touch.
Thank you. Take care, my darling. Love you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Oh, thank you all for joining me today. This is Tao of the Day. I'm here 6 a.m. Central Time, Monday through Friday. Looking forward to talking with you tomorrow, Friday the 26th. And, what a wonderful life we have. Life is easy. Water is humble. So thank you, Muhammad, for 77, Bending of a Bow, and yours truly, number 8. This is Martin John, and until next time, keep recovering yourself.